Okay, next and hopefully last work in progress on the Age of Apocalypse Colossus piece. So, woke up this morning. Sugar Tooth looks really good. Usually have to kind of sleep on something and look at it the next day, and he looks awesome. So, I went ahead and mixed up kind of a darkish gray color. Went in, cut in around him with a brush, and base coated it. So I didn't show any of that because it's just, again, it's tedious. My legs are extremely like sore and bruised from having this thing in my lap. I need to get like a piece of furniture foam I can put in my lap when I'm working with these big bases because they beat my legs up. The Mad X was the first one to do that. I literally had bruises all my legs for about a week. So now I'm going to go in and I'm doing the first round of dry brushing to bring out these details, and I'm just using Master Touch. These are really cheap acrylics. I got them at Hobby Lobby. I think like on sale. This is like $1.50. They're $2. This is just a neutral gray. The gray I mixed up here is just a little bit of black, a little bit of titanium white, and such. And I'm just going in here and just kind of dry brushing this on to get the first initial little bit of detail. So there'll be several rounds of dry brushing to bring out the highlights and stuff. And then I'll go back in with an airbrush with some the Vallejo weathering washes and airbrush those on, and that gives me some really nice tonal variations in the rock, just so it's not all gray and white. So I put on a really good heavy coat of Krylon matte finish after I got done with this because I had some dry spray on Sugar Tooth from yesterday. When you mist down lightly, any of the overspray that goes anywhere is kind of dry and dusty looking. So I kind of remedy that by just putting on a really wet coat of the sealer. Now, I've got this kind of nasty harsh line where I cut in around the face with the brush, but that's going to be okay because what I'm going to do is at the very end, one of the last steps, is I'll go in with pastels and I'll kind of dirty up his face a little bit where it meets the rock and stuff, so it looks like it's kind of, just so it's not just a harsh line that never really looks good. I think you got to go in and kind of add some dirt to whatever's sitting on the base just so it looks more natural. The trick with stuff like this is you got to lift it up and get underneath here and make sure you get everything. So for a while, this is going to look pretty flat, like all pretty similar in tone. But we take care of that towards the end. I'll go in and I'll do some shading and bring out some individual rocks and stuff. But right now, we just got to bring up some highlights and get the kind of initial detail popping on this thing. And I think I mentioned before, but he actually has on this foot back here, there's some rocks sculpted in on the foot. So I'm going to do that towards the end because once I get the rock done, then I'm going to put Colossus's legs on the base, and we're going to look at where I need to add the weathering there and stuff, and where excuse me, I had to sneeze, where the paint is kind of hitting and rubbing off naturally anyway, because he's heavy and there's some points on here where it just rubs. I'm going to do some chipping effects, just some light dry brushing on the armor to make it look like bare metal, because it's going to hit anyway, so I might as well make that look like it's supposed to be there. So I'm going to do this, and actually I'm almost done with this color. This goes pretty quick. And I'm not real careful until I get around the face, but I'll just keep working on this. I won't seal this between every color because the Colossus is a pretty tight fit on the base as it is, and the more layers of paint and stuff you put on, just the tighter it gets, the more rubbing you get. So you kind of have to be careful sometimes with your layers of paint. That's why I had to go in and do some grinding on some points that were really hitting hard. But we're in the home stretch on this guy. I might be able to get him done today, which would be really good. This has been a big project. One of the bigger ones I've done. Maybe not size-wise, but just the amount of detail and stuff, because of Sugar Tooth And I have another client, one of my regular clients, hey, you want to do another one? Like, maybe in a few months. This is not this particular piece is not a cheap paint job. Just the amount of time it's taking me. It's, I have to go back and see what I estimated, but it's going to be on the high end for this guy just because, yeah, I don't know. But I start, now when people ask for a paint price, I give them a range. It's like, I think it'll be between here and there, and that's just an estimate. But yeah, just so people know what they're getting into when they. So here I'm actually kind of scrubbing this neutral gray, because I want to get this into some of the recesses a little bit. Just lighten it up overall. So I'm being pretty harsh with this color. I just put a little bit of my brush just on the very tip of the bristles. But every time I go over it, it lightens it up a little bit more. I always tend to start a little too dark, I think, with my base coat for rock. I don't know. I was thinking I'm going to start really dark, and then I have to work really hard to bring it up again. But, you know, it's all right. I used to start with black, and I stopped doing that because it's just, I was putting way too much effort in to bring it up to a color that I want. And it's rare that you see black rock in nature, unless it's volcanic rock, and even then it's usually not pure black. So when I get here close to the head, I gotta be a little careful. I don't want to get paint on the head. But if I do, it's no big deal. I can just wipe it off with a Q-tip. But what I do is, let me show you what I'm doing here. A little technique thing. Because sometimes I do stuff and I don't explain it. So when I get here close to the edge here of the face, what I do is I'm pushing the brush and I'm just using like the very top row of these bristles. So let me show you. Put a little paint on. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I get an angle where you can see what I'm doing. When I'm pushing, and I'm just using the very kind of tips of those bristles. I got a little too much gray there, but it's okay. So when I get to an edge like that close, I'm basically pushing and just using the top row of the bristles. Because you have more control. It's like cutting in. It's like when you're, like if you're painting a wall in your house, you want to cut in, you kind of shape the bristles to what you want them to do. Okay. So again, I'm just kind of gonna build this up until I get the tone I want. I gotta lift it up and make sure I get all the undercuts. So I got this piece of rock in here so that when I do the dry brushing and stuff, it's consistent and it fits in. You can see it's pretty all even, the same color, right? Same tone right now, but I'm gonna rectify that here a little bit. And then we do the pastel work and the shading. It's going to look really good. Okay. So that's looking pretty good right there. There's one spot where I actually physically can't get paint. There's an undercut right here. And if you hold this base at the right angle, you can see it. But I physically can't get paint under. I just can't. I tried for about 20 minutes trying to get paint in that one spot. Like, well, unless you take the base and hold it up and look underneath there, you're not going to see it. So I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. When you have some undercuts like that, sometimes you just really can't get paint to it. What was the piece I was working on that had a hell of a time getting paint in some areas? What was it? I can't remember. But there's some like really hard undercuts that Like, I'm wondering how they molded it, to be honest. Because an undercut like that would be really hard to mold or cast. Okay, so this looks pretty good. So now I'm going to bring this up a level. I'm going to try to shoot a little darker. I was noticing yesterday when I did my video that there's a little kind of, I think it's because my phone, my case on my phone creates a little, sorry for all the noise in the background, creates a little lens flare, so the footage looks a little kind of hazy. I think it's just because of my phone case. The protective cover creates a little lens flare. Okay, now I'm going to take some white. Again, just using that same Masters acrylic. And I'm going to mix just a little bit of the neutral gray in there. I don't want pure white. At least not yet. I go through a lot of paper towels when I'm dry brushing because again, we're just going to hit the tops using the flat part of the brush here. And I'm not scrubbing, I'm just kind of dragging across the top of the rock. So I'm going to do this, and then we'll come back and look at it, because I'm going to do this, and then I'll probably seal it again, and I'll see if I want to bring it up another level before I airbrush any of the washes on. The washes are real nice because they're very thin, and they do a great job of just kind of tinting whatever it is you're working on. So you're just kind of like staining the surface, and it's a good way to kind of get a natural variation in stone color. I did it on the base for the Magneto, Del Odom Magneto I did the last project, and it looked really, really good. So I'm going to kind of replicate that look on this, I think. So I'll come back when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so I went and sealed that really well again after I did all that dry brushing and stuff. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to come in here with some of these Vallejo wash colors. So right now my airbrush has got Vallejo dark yellow, and I'm just gonna go in here and just kind of lightly mist this on a little bit here and there. I'm gonna try to avoid hitting sugar tooth, but this is a real easy way to kind of just get some tonal variation in stone. I'm not sure if it's even showing up in camera. Put a little bit of this on. Again, just trying to avoid hitting the sugar juice. Put a little bit on there. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to really see it on him. If anything, I'll just add a little bit to the kind of blending into the base. So I'm not going to worry about masking him off. At first I was going to silly putty him off and do that, but it's just easier to hand brush everything. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just warmed the rocks up a little bit so they're not just so cold. think to this one I'm just going to go ahead and add to this. I'm going to add some dark green, olive green. And I'll do, so now I'm going to kind of go in and hit some of the shadows a little bit. It's kind of replicate maybe some moss or something in the rocks. Just kind of hitting the recesses with this color. Again, it's pretty light. It's on my camera, I don't know. The great thing about these is that you maintain all the colors you put on previously, and you just see through this. So it's just, again, just kind of staining the surface wherever you put it on. So again, I bring it pretty bright, I bring it back down with this stuff, and then I'll do, at the very end, I'll do one more round of dry brushing. Keeping it loose. I just cleaned this hairbrush, but I may still have some debris in there. There we go. Tend to knock stuff loose when cleaning an airbrush. I'm going to kind of hit pretty hard under where the foot goes. So this stuff you have to put on real light. You can't hose it on because it's very thin. Yeah, so that's some. I got some clogging my airbrush. Working its way through. Okay, this is looking pretty good. And those just have to kind of blend in the rock on his foot when I get him on the base. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Okay. gonna put this in a little cup here. I've got some, I don't want to waste it. I'm gonna do a little maroon. Actually, this is dark rust. Again, just gonna kind of mist it on here and there. It's pretty subtle as far as like what's happening here. Pretty quick process. I'm just kind of missing it on here and there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Shoot, can't clean this out a little bit, and we'll put on all right, so we got some yellow, we got some dark rust on there. What's this? European dust. Let's do that. I don't think I want maroon. And then I'll seal this again. And I'll do my pastel work on the shadows and stuff along his face. And I'll probably put the orange back in. This is European dust. This is a little kind of a tan color. I'm going to put this dark green back in my brush, I think. Hit under here a little more. Not sure if I'm on camera. I gotta be able to move this guy around. Kind of hit the underside of the rocks. It's kind of where moss would collect, I would assume. It's kind of my thinking, at least. Nothing's more frustrating when you spend 30 minutes cleaning out an airbrush and it's still not spraying right. Okay, so those are looking pretty good. So we've got some nice tint now, some variations going on in the rock. It's not just gray and white. But we'll bring some of that back when I do the dry brushing. I tend to like this yellow. I don't know. You notice didn't mask out the eye. I still have to regloss this again. I think I'm gonna use epoxy on those because it'll add a little bit of yellow tint to them and make them look real kind of gross looking, I think. Okay. I think this looks good. So I need to seal this again, and then we're gonna go in with pastels to bring the face, anchor the face and the arms and everything to everything. And then we'll do a final round of flat, and then I think, fingers crossed, the base will be done. And then I can work on getting Colossus' legs on there and the damage and stuff done on those and get that worked out too. So I'll seal this and then we'll come back. Okay, so I sealed that really well, and now I'm going in with some graveyard dirt pigment. And the first thing to do is I'm just going around the sugar tooth, sugar guy, around the edges where I just kind of cut in. And I'm bringing, so this graveyard dirt's kind of a brown color, so it'd be a nice shadow color for the rocks. I thought about using the rocket exhaust, but it's just pretty much black, and I don't want to go black. So just taking this and I'm just dabbing it in, kind of blending it around, and then I take a soft brush and blend it. And also I'm going to go and hit all these recesses in the rocks, which will help define, give some definition between all the different rocks and stuff. Pigments are super messy. They get everywhere. They get on my floor. Yeah, they're just really messy. So I'm just going in here and dabbing in. And what this is going to do is it's going to hide that really harsh line from the paint. And if I get a little bit on his face, it's actually good because it'll anchor him to the base. It won't look like he's floating. So one thing I notice when I see factory paint jobs is they don't do this. You'll just see a hard line, a delineation between like the rock surface and the character, and it looks really weird. It doesn't look natural. So yeah, so I haven't seen a ton of factory paints in person. The ones I have seen haven't been that great. So I don't, I've seen a couple sideshow pieces in person, and those have been pretty good. But then you have to think about what you're paying for them. So like a sideshow piece may be, depending on the edition size, for a quarter scale, you may be paying, as low as $600 for it. So I don't expect a crazy ass good paint job on it. But some of these other custom pieces where you're spending, for a factory paint job, you're spending, maybe $1,200 or before shipping. I would expect some better paint jobs. There was a piece I had in my possession. I was supposed to do a bunch of repairs on them, and it went south. It was a bad deal for me, and the factory paint wasn't that great. Like I saw a ton of stuff I would have done different. But again, the price of the piece wasn't that expensive for that particular custom. I'm having a hard time getting pastels down. There we go. And so, for that piece in particular, like for me to do a custom paint job would have been easily $2,000 because it was two full, huge figures with lots of detail on the base. So it would have been a 2-week project easily to do one of those. So I've just seen some steps that they don't go through because they don't have the time. They're not going to spend 40, 50, 60 hours on one piece when they got to make, if they're making a small run of 30, even that's a lot of time to spend on, one piece. So they're not going to do that times 30 or 40. So I'm going to go through and do this. Hopefully you can see what's going on here. Kind of hitting the recesses. I may go in with some of this rocket exhaust on the really deep crevices. We'll see. Actually, I need to make a supply order. I'm running low on some of my favorite supplies. This is one of them. I'm getting low on this pigment. I've had it for many, many years, been finally starting to run out. That certainly look pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and then we'll come back. Okay, so I finished doing that pastel work. I went and sealed it again. And this should be the last highlight on the rocks. And then I can seal it one more time. Always sealing. And then we'll see what it would look like. So I'm gonna go back to my kind of white. I'm gonna add a little more gray to it. This is not so bright. And we're just gonna hit the tops of the rocks. Again, just using the flat part of the brush. This will help bring back some of the detail, while still maintaining kind of that work we did with the washes and stuff. And if I'm just go real light, I won't mess up my pastel work. So we're just gonna hit the tops with everything. Go from the top down, and you can see we're bringing back the details again. And you can still see the kind of the washes and stuff. So I'll seal this. After this, I'll seal this one more time, and then I'll gloss the eyes with some epoxy. And I'll gloss the mouth. I'm gonna use just an acrylic gloss on the mouth. It won't be super shiny, but it'll have a sheen to it. Thought about using a 2K clear on the mouth, but I don't know if I want it that high gloss. I think just a sheen will help separate it from the face. This looks pretty badass, I think. Hope my client likes it. So far, he's liked it. Again, just using the flat part of the brush. I'm not going back and forth, just going from the top down. If I want to brighten something up a little bit more, just go over it again. Just kind of looks like I'm kind of going all over, but I'm really not. I'm just kind of hitting the tops of things. You don't want to go all over because you'll just flatten it back out. That's looking pretty good, I think. I think that looks pretty good. I may hit this part a little hard right here because it's the highest spot on the base. I'll go back and forth a little bit to really brighten it up. It will dry down a little bit. It won't be like pure white. Okay. I always say I'm done, I keep going. This video has a lot of dry brushing on it. Let me hit a couple of these a little harder. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go seal this one more time, and then we'll gloss up the mouth and the eyes, and the base will be done. So I'll come back and show you that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm taking some Vallejo just acrylic gloss, and I'm just going inside the mouth here. I'm going to get as much of it as I can. It's really hard with the teeth in there, but this will just give it a little bit of a sheen. Won't be high gloss, but it'll give it a little, I'll bring out some details. I'm also going to do this to the tongue, just with this acrylic gloss. So on the inside, I'm not trying to be real careful because I just want to kind of get it everywhere as best as I can. And this being an acrylic gloss, it won't dry to a high gloss, and plus I got a bunch of texture going on with all the paint, but it'll help bring out some of these details and stuff in the mouth, I think. And it'll just give it a little separation from everything else, so everything's not the same finish. So I basically got everything I can get here. I can't get on up in the top of the mouth, I don't think, because of the teeth. I'm going to try. Oops, dang it. See, it's got some on the outside, don't want that. So I'm just going to take a little water and wipe off. It's a water base, so it comes right off with some water. Just trying to get up in here if I can. If not, it's at the end of the world. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to come along here and do the teeth, the gum line, and the lips. See that little something in the paint. So the trick is I like to try to blend the gloss from the lip to the outside and make it kind of a smooth transition. So I just take a damp Q-tip and kind of dab at it, and it kind of helps just kind of make a transition from gloss to the matte slash flat finish of everything else. So it's not such a harsh line. Oops, I got some. Yeah, so this will give it just a nice kind of a semi-gloss. This actually give more of a semi-gloss than a gloss. I've never been able to get an acrylic gloss to go high gloss. It doesn't level out. It dries too fast. Whereas in a lacquer or a 2K, it levels out before it really has a chance to cure all the way. So I'm putting it on kind of heavy because I'm letting it run down the teeth. And not that you're going to see the backside, but if I can get the backside, I'm going to. Right now it's just important to get the stuff you can see, since these are glued in and there's no going back. Okay, so you can see it's kind of pooling in a few areas where it's kind of that bluish tone, though that will dry clear when it's done. So no worries there. It's all on that too, that's okay. Okay. So that'll look good. Let me get the tongue and do the tongue. Again, just kind of putting it on real loose. Don't have to be too careful about it. Just make sure you get it all. Okay, so that tongue's been brushed with that gloss. Put that to the side, let it dry. I'm gonna go in here and just make sure I even out some of this pooling a little bit. Kind of brush it towards the area you want it to kind of fan to, and it'll give you a little softer transition. Okay. I think everything that we can see has been glossed. That looks good. Okay. So now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of 5-minute epoxy on the eyes. So let me wash out this. Actually, I'll just use this brush, the cheap brush. Wash it out with some water. And we'll get some 5-minute epoxy. Little cup. And I'll give it as a nice high gloss. I think we'll add to the effect of this. Now I have 30-minute epoxy, which actually is a little bit on the yellow side. I was kind of hoping this would be a little. I'm gonna add a drop of yellow to this. You don't need a lot, just enough to cover the eye. That's interesting. I thought this epoxy had a cap on it. It didn't. I went to go take it off my tooth, and got epoxy in my mouth. All right, since this is gonna be a trash brush, I'm just use the back side of this to mix it up. Let me get my optical visor on so I can see what I'm doing. I may have to do this in my lap, so I may not be able to show this on camera. We'll see. I'm going to be pretty precise with it. Yeah, I'm going to do this off camera on my lap. Okie dokie, with that, I glossed the eyes with some 5-minute epoxy. Those look really good. Got the mouth. It's actually shinier than I thought it would be, which is fine. No big deal. But the base is done. It looks really good. So that was, again, a lot of work on this thing. But I'm really happy with this. So I'm going to let that all dry for an hour or so. And then we'll put Colossus's legs on here and see what we're going to do about as far as like getting his legs weathered up a little bit. But this looks really sharp. So I think this base is taking me the longest out of any base, not including Aquaman, which had all the creatures, but just the base by itself. This one's taking me the longest. Usually, like I said, usually get the base done like in a day. This has been going on day 3 now. So very long process, but it looks good. I'm going to send a picture to my client, and then we'll work on the legs. All right, so now what I got to do is I'm going to do a little bit of weathering and battle damage on the legs here. Let me show you what's happening. Just the way he sits on here and the way everything fits, we get some rubbing. I already told my client this, and I've told you guys this, but I got a spot right here that rubs off, and down here on the foot, it's rubbing off. You don't see it when it's all together, and there's really no way to avoid it. So I'm not going to fight it. It just kind of is what it is. But what I want to do is, on those areas, I'm just going to kind of dry brush a little kind of silver on them, I think. I don't know. I thought about doing a bunch of battle damage, but I don't think so. So he fits on your areas, but you have to kind of wiggle him on there. It's one reason why they get rubbing, because you have to wiggle it to get on. But I want to kind of do a little bit of thick pastel work and stuff on the legs here, just kind of, again, to ground them. So, but pastels won't stick to a glossy surface. So what I have in my airbrush is some All Clad Matte, which is it's a lacquer top coat, and I'm just going to kind of spray the edge where this meets the rock. I think that's coming out. Nope. And I'm just going to give me some something to there we go. This should stick to this to the gloss pretty good. So it's gonna be kind of weird, so when you take them off the base, there'll be like a line where the pastels stop, but that's okay. Again, we only care about what you can see. It's all put together. Again, my airbrush is acting up, which I just cleaned. So hit the bottom of the boots a little bit. Here. So this will stick to the gloss. It will do something the pastels to stick to. I don't have to hit it again. I'll have to seal it again with this one done. The airbrush is really pissing me off. I put the needle in, it doesn't want to spray. Okay. I'm not going to do a ton. I'm not doing a ton of weathering on this because I like the way it looks. I just wanted to kind of hit where it is the base for the most part. And this stuff dries pretty quick, so. All right. So let that dry, and then we'll come in with the same color pastels I used before. And then I'll seal it again, and we'll take a look. Okay, so I'm going in. I hit this with a hairdryer. I'm just going in with those pastels again, and just kind of hitting along the edge here where he sits. And the pastels will only stick where that flat coat was sprayed, so I don't have to worry about it getting on areas I don't want it to get on. Then I'll seal these areas again, just kind of around the edge. And dirty up the bottom of his feet a little bit. I did some shading and stuff on these earlier, but we're gonna, especially this guy, that foot right there. Again, I'm just hitting the areas you can see. So when I take this off, it's going to be weird. You're going to see like a line on the bottom side of this leg where the pastels stop and start. But again, I don't care about that because we just want to care about what we see. So again, it's a pretty subtle effect. It just kind of grounds. Again, we're just kind of grounding into the base. So when I seal these edges again, then I'll go in and I'll do a little bit of, just a few little kind of dry brushing areas on the metal. Particularly just where it's kind of rubbing off from it hitting. It's going to rub off again anyway, but at least I can say I tried to hide it. So we are just about done with this guy. His eyes look really good with the epoxy in there. As you can see up here, I'm putting pastels and it doesn't stick where there's no flat coat. So that's why I do it while it's on the base, just so I know where, just so I can put it where it needs to be. I don't want to go start spraying flat coat all over this thing and messing up all the work I did to get it nice and shiny. Okay. So now I'm going to go in there and hit it again with this flat coat. This will seal it. And just kind of hit the edges where I put the pastels. My airbrush turned up a little bit, and that's why it's kind of fogging everywhere. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. Well, let this dry, and we'll do the last little bit of kind of battle damage, whatever you want to call it, on some spots that are rubbing. I've got a few little touch-ups I have to do on the red. So when I come back, oh, and I'm also going to glue the torso to the top. So I'm going to do all that, and when I come back, he should be finished. Okay, so last step before I glue this all together is I'm going in with some good old Testors cheapo enamel This is I don't even know what color it is. It's metal. I have no clue what color. I've had these for years, going on like 20 years. This is actually kind of dried up. I had to add a little thinner and mix it up. But I'm just going in here real lightly and just adding a little kind of damage to the shoes and stuff here. And then I'll take these off, and where the paint's rubbing, I'll add a little bit of this, but I'm not doing a bunch. Sorry about the dog in the background. It's real light. You just kind of tap it on, like where you want a little chip, just tap it. Real light. Basically on corners and stuff. So I'm just going to do the boots a little bit. And this will stand out nicely against any of the pastels I did. I'm sure we can see that over there. This stuff will stick to this and it'll dry nice and hard. Got a little bit where I don't want it. Where'd my toothpicks go? There they are. I got a little bit on the leather sole. That wouldn't be on there. That doesn't make sense. Take a little toothpick and try to wipe it off. Or just totally screwed up like I just did. And I need a little lighter fluid on the Q-tip. Because lighter fluid will dissolve enamel, but it won't hurt the other stuff underneath it. Just like that. Perfect. All right, take that off. So yeah, just a little bit here on the shoes. I sealed over the pastels again with the all-clad matte. Oh, I do have I forgot, I got a few little rocks there I gotta kind of paint. I gotta do that too. There's a couple of little sculpted rocks right here I gotta paint real quick. That should just take a minute. Not sure if you can see what I'm doing, but just doing a little bit over here. Okay. Pretty subtle. And then where it hits it down here, again, I'm just gonna I sent my client a message that, hey, look, there's a couple spots where the paint hits. I'm just going to kind of add a little bit of damage to it. Since it's gonna get damaged anyway, might as well just paint the damage on. Can't avoid it, so might as well just go with it. So I'm off camera here because I'm just kind of looking over where it hits everywhere. Just in a few spots, really. It's actually not as bad as it could be. There's actually one big spot. So it hits right here on the inside of the shin. But again, once it's all together, you can't see it, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. So the last thing I got to do is paint some of these little rocks. Then they get sculpted on to the boot. And then we can glue them together. So we'll do that. Okay, and we are done with the Age of Apocalypse Colossus. Just got done gluing him together. So now he is one piece except for the head and the bandana. And he's looking really good. Has a few little brush touch-ups here and there. A little weathering on the boots looks really good. Kind of, like, again, kind of grounds him to the base. Yeah, cool piece. A lot of work on this one. I wasn't sure about Sugar Tooth until I got up this morning. You just never know. I was asleep on something. When I work on something for a couple of days at a time, until I look at it the next day, I don't know. But glossing the eyes looks really good. Glossing the mouth. So now he all comes off of his one piece except for the head and the bandana. Those get packed separately. But the whole body is one piece. This is for my client. As far as assembly goes, what you want to do first is you don't want to put, oh, I forgot the tongue. Don't forget the tongue. You can put Colossus on first. You don't want to put him on after. You can't put him on until, you can't put Sugar Tooth's arms in unless he's on the base first. And you do have to kind of wiggle him in there. So he's going to sit down, and this foot may feel like it doesn't want to sit down all the way. Just kind of wiggle it a little bit, and he'll go down. So put Colossus on the base first, and then these arms have to go in a certain order. So Colossus on the base. Put this arm in next. Put this arm in next. The hammer's all glued together, so that's not going to come apart. And then put the rock in. And then that's put together. Put the tongue in, and then this arm in next, and these all together. So really good looking piece. DX, like I say, DXA Designs put out a very nice kit. The pricing on their kits is very reasonable. I don't know what this sold for, but my guess is the kit was probably under $1,000. He usually keeps his kits around $800, $900 mark. All you gotta do is put the sticker on the bottom. I'm going to let the torso dry for another hour or so because I used 5-minute epoxy, and it takes about an hour for full cure. But and then I can take pictures of this today. But I'll take this off the tripod and kind of pan around a little bit. Yeah, looking really good. So I've got probably at least 60 hours in this guy. So my client may freak out when he finds out how long it took, but that's what it took. A lot of detail on this piece, and it's just big. It's a big piece. And it's awkward to handle sometimes, but there we go. So thanks for everyone who watched this series. Shadowcat's next, and it's for the same client, so I'll probably ask him to hold on to this piece before I ship it. I'll take photos of this guy today by himself, but I'd like to get photos of him and Shadowcat together since they're from the same comic. Be kind of cool. And I do have his Age of Apocalypse Tyrant, but I need to put that off for a while so I can get some other clients' pieces done after his Shadowcat. But there you go. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.